Welcome back, guys. This is Library of Orthonk, LOTR TCG. Had just finished up doing a couple videos on the Fellowship PC World Championship deck lists, and I wanted to share this deck with you guys because this wasn't one of the top two decks, but really I'd say this is the most common, standard, staple deck that you will run across when you're playing the Fellowship PC format. So again, and just a refresher for people who don't know what I mean when I say Fellowship PC, players council cards are legal, and errata is mandatory of the cards that have been errated by the players council. So in this format, Nazgul is very popular because not a lot of Nazgul cards were nerfed with any errata. Uruk-hai are primarily the broken deck in the standard Fellowship Decipher format, and so they're not as strong in Fellowship PC, and Nazgul tend to be the most popular deck. So that's what you see for the defense, and then for the offense, you see Arwen on there. That's because we're a Elves and Men deck. So, again, Elves and Men is a very popular deck. Arwen's more popular because Nazgul are popular, and that's just a very standard staple Fellowship that you'll see. So it's Elves and Men with Nazgul, and we're just going to do a deck tech of this deck. And again, this is a fairly stock list. I pulled this off of an older list, I think, from the format championships. Don't remember whose list this was, but I might have made a couple modifications too, just to my liking. But what I'm trying to present you with here is a fairly stock staple list of these decks. So first off, the Elves, we have Arwen, daughter of Elrond, and Legolas Greenleaf. It's going to be our starting Fellowship, and that's going to be accompanied by Frodo, the reluctant adventurer. Again, kind of the staple standard, plays your possessions on him cheaply, and of course Isildur's Bane. So that is your starting Fellowship. No surprises there, of course. Then in terms of the rest of your companions, definitely your main big guy is Aragorn. The version is probably not as critical. I'm running Ranger of the North. You might see the Aragorn Signet healing guy in some decks too, but Aragorn Ranger of the North is just great because it stops against Swarm. When he can, if a Swarm comes, he can take extra minions. So I like him as the guy. Also like that he has the flaming brand there. So the Boromir, son of Denethor, just a great splash Boromir. Helps keep your hobbits alive. And we do play a hobbit splash package in this deck of Merry and Pippin and Sam, one of each. And then also a splash Gandalf. We're not really doing anything with that other than just having that be another companion. So again, these are your more disposable companions right here. Definitely want to keep the Elves, and Aragorn is who you're really trying to keep down. And then we do have Elrond, Herald to Gil-galad. Full three copies of that. Again, that's very critical for the healing ability. It's also critical to be your third elf just to get you the full +3 bonus off of the Last Alliance of Elves and Men that we'll see later on. But yeah, typically, what you're absolutely for sure going to want to have down is Arwen, Legolas, Frodo, and Aragorn. And then your fifth guy is really kind of at your discretion. It can be Boromir, ideally, or it can be any of these splash people, and you can kind of just rotate through these different people. And it's possible you might have to lose an Arwen or a Legolas at some point too. You try not to do that, of course, but if you have to, you have to. So there's your main people that you try to have down. Then in terms of the support cards, talked about Elrond. We do have 2 copies of Gwemegal. Gwemegal is absolutely fantastic to cycle your deck. Most people see this card and they're like, oh, this is an okay weapon, but this is absolutely fantastic. Arwen can actually get up there in power between her +3 against a Nazgul, +2 off of this, and her 6. That puts her in 11. So in theory, you can get up to beat some Nazgul if you really needed to. But more importantly is if you're combined with a Nazgul Shadow, cycling is important because Nazgul is a very clunky shadow, very expensive cards, and doesn't cycle well. So having something like this to cycle is actually very essential. So we have 2 Gwemegal. And then we do have Asphaloth, her horse here. I don't like this as much in Fellowship because of the discard at an underground site, so it's going to get pitched at site 5. So you have to either play it after 5 or just know that it's going to get lost at 5. So I'm not as high on this, but 1 copy is fine. Ranger Sword for Aragorn, and Bow for Aragorn. And then we do play a full playset of Flaming Brands. So again, if you went a little lighter on the brands, you could probably play an extra Ranger's Sword. But, you know, again, just fantastic support suite here for Aragorn, making sure that he is equipped up with Ranger Sword and a brand, or even a double brand. If you're facing Nazgul, you can have, you know, 2 Flaming Brands. So armor to keep the wounds under control, 2 copies of that. Again, that's very strong against Uruk-hai or against like a cave troll. And then Athelas, got a couple of those just to, again, keep wounds under control. So again, a very nice support package here for your Aragorn. Then for Frodo, again, we get to play these for -1. We do have Sting, Mithril-coat. Again, that's very good against Sauron. This is just solid to give him more power bonus. Definitely been nerfed in terms of the removing ability. Vilya for Elrond. Again, just nice to get that extra vitality, and then at some point you can do a double exertion with him. That also keeps conditions under control by forcing your opponent to return them to hand during the maneuver phase, which is more annoying than that sounds, because they can't replay them and then it's clogging up their hand. Then this is the namesake of the deck, the Last Alliance of Elves and Men. So we do just have 3 elves in here between Elrond and the 2 starting Arwen and Legolas. But if we have those 3 down, we put this on Aragorn and we get a full +3 bonus on that. So that's just really nice. You got an extra just to get it early, or in theory you could put the extra one on Boromir if you had to, but really that's obviously for Aragorn. Tale of Gil-galad for Legolas just to give him some extra vitality, get some more wounds in. Same thing, Saga of Elendil for Aragorn. There and back again, just to, again, keep your hobbits alive. And finally, Secret Sentinels to keep those conditions under control with Elrond. This is definitely a better, more permanent way to keep conditions under control than Vilya. So that's kind of the full Fellowship. Like I said, that is really the most mains and toys deck that exists in Lord of the Rings TCG, is just this Last Alliance of Elves and Men strategy. There's not anything too sneaky or clever. It's just solid cards across the board. Excuse me. Then moving on to the Shadow, we have our just, again, fairly standard Nazgul deck here, but I'll just run through this. So first we have high quantity of every Nazgul. I think we're running 3 apiece in this, which I like. Running 4 sometimes does, run you into a clog with your hand, especially with as clunky as Nazgul are. So we're running 3 Witch King, Lord of Agmar. We're running 3 Ullair, Atea, Keeper of Dol Guldur. And this one is really nice. Again, don't underestimate this, how good this remove 1 to get strength +1 is. You can really do some damage with that. 3 Ullair Cantea. Again, he's great against weapons, so they can't really put him on someone with a weapon, or you just take that. 3 Ullair Inkea. Again, everyone knows what this is. This is the very extremely splashable card, but I like running 3 just so your opponent just knows to never go up to 6 companions. Ullair Nelia. This one's kind of a nice surprise because it's pretty easy to get 2 burdens, and if they have 2 burdens, he just turns into a fierce damage +1. So you got a couple of those. A couple Toldeas. Again, if the burdens get more out of control and they get up to 4, then you get to just assign him to skirmish any companion except the ring bearer, so turn him into an assassin. That's a pretty nice ability on there. Again, people know not to go to 5 burdens when you're running the Inkea, because that's the other condition to trigger him. But if they go up to 4, you got a couple Tildeas in there to assassinate them with. Then 1 copy of Ulayr Nertea, the errata version. So again, this one is limited to playing unique Wraith minions, but in this deck, that's not really a limitation because that's what we are. 1 copy of that. And then for our support cards, pretty lighter on the support, we've got 2 Nazgul swords and 1 Pale Blade. Obviously, that's for the Witch King, and this is for any Nazgul. And again, keep an eye on the burdens, because you get, when you're at 3 burdens, that's the damage +1. So it's kind of like 2 burdens triggers Nelia, 3 burdens triggers the sword, 4 burdens triggers Toldea, 5 burdens triggers Enkea. So you've got a different, always keep an eye on your burdens and know which cards are active. Then Black Breath is the one that says wounds and burdens may not be removed from the bearer. And then Blade Tip is the one that says wound at the start of each phase, but again, you have to beat the character in a skirmish to get this assigned. So these both start in your support area, and then when you skirmish someone, you can take them out of the support area and get it on to the people. I should say that one you just have to skirmish, this one you have to win the skirmish. So then another staple just of being able to actually play all these expensive cards is the Morgul Gates. That's just a beautiful foil too, guys. I love that one. But we got the full play set of that. That's just to help you be able to get your Nazgul down. Then this is a nice play choice. I really like this, especially in this meta, is the Relentless Charge. We are playing a full play set of that. This one is I'd say more of a meta call, but I do like it. Exert a Nazgul to wound every archer companion. So in Fellowship, largely that is going to get you Aragorn and Legolas a 2-for-1 wound, and especially those are 2 of the best companions out there, and it's a maneuver action. So I really like that as getting a couple of these in your hand and possibly being able to take out one of those very key companions. So we've got this for Legolas and Aragorn. Again, Gorn's got to be wearing the bow to be able to use it, but that's a pretty popular thing that people do. So 2 full playset of Relentless Charge. Then also, finally, we also have another meta call, which I believe is fantastic in Fellowship, which is 4 copies of Too Great and Terrible. Gandalf can be a very key card in mini decks, and this is just a total assassination. I mean, even compared to Relentless Charge, where you only get to do 1 wound, this lets you do 2 wounds. So oftentimes that's enough to take out Gandalf, or in particular, if you stack and get 2 of these in your hand at the same time. You don't even have to exert for this. You just have to spot. So you literally just get 2 of these in your hand at once, and you just kill Gandalf. And that is worth taking this much deck slots for, because he's that key. So that's the full Nazgul package there. Let me just run through the sites with you guys. So, of course, we have Prancing Pony for Aragorn. Even though we have a full 4, we just want to make sure we get him right away no matter what. And again, keep an eye on this, because if your opponent's playing a burden, it's nice to entice them to play an Aragorn and get them to add a burden for your Nazgul. Bree Streets makes Nazgul not roaming. Ford of Bruin makes the first Nazgul -5. That one is just fantastic, where you can really get someone with stuff when they have only a couple companions down, and you're playing a Nazgul for basically free. Eregion Hills, I'm a big fan of this, because again, this is just going to add the surprise burden to someone, and maybe they're trying to keep track and stay at a certain level, and you just say, nope, you're going to take another burden, and then that really turns your cards on. And in this format, again, I didn't mention Sam, son of Hamfast, is severely nerfed, so there's less effective burden removal as in, Decipher format. The Bridge, Valley of Silverlode. Again, the 6, 7, 8, 9, I think are kind of weaker, not necessarily that critical for you. So that's where Nazgul are really strong early on in the path between, we're talking about the Bree Streets, the Fort of Bruin, the Eregion Hills. It's really, that's where they live. And then you get to 6, 7, 8, and you're just kind of having more mediocre stuff like each Hobbit may heal, skip the archery phase, which is fine, but Nazgul can kind of eat archery anyway. This one is draw a card for each companion over 4, and this one is draw a card for each burden. So again, card draw, is it good for Nazgul? It's okay. So really, Nazgul is more of a speed bump defense where you're just going to stop your opponent from being able to double move, and then you're typically going to win via fellowship versus winning by a shadow kill. So guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to lay out a little thumbnail here as I finish up the video. But again, the way to think of it is the Elves and Men is really just your mains and toys deck. And then your Nazgul, again, is fairly similar, just a very solid shadow of, key minions. With the one exception of, like I said, this deck runs quite a bit of tech of, killing Gandalf, killing Aragorn and Legolas with some of these event type cards. So kind of just show that off here with that idea that that's what the shadow here is doing. So there's a little thumbnail for us here. But yeah, thank you for watching. It's been fun. Like I said, I would say that if you're playing the Fellowship PC format, you're absolutely going to end up facing this Fellowship and this Shadow at some point, because they're just the kind of the main standard staples in that format. So thanks for watching. See you guys again next time.